Shalom, giving all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, the Wadi Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai for the days, minutes, hours, leading to the return of the one in the world called Jesus Christ. And, I want to get into something real quick. So, brothers was driving and, brother's human, was having different thoughts and different thoughts and different fears and things like that coming to me, and I was just thinking and I was just thinking and I was just getting in the spirit of being overwhelmed. And that happens to all men. Even Yahweh Shai was overwhelmed, with panic and just fear, and he asked, Yahweh to have the thing pass over him, when it was time for him to be crucified. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong. So these things happen to all men. We know what we're a part of, and we know what's coming to the world. So of course things like that get terrifying and intimidating. And different brothers have different elements of strength. Certain brothers, are strong and they're about it. Certain brothers, they believe, but they're not as strong as the next one. That's why the scriptures talk about bearing the infirmities of the weak. At times we get weak, and we're all given different portions. Certain people are just stronger than others. So I was having, a moment, and through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, I just confessed, confessed it all before Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai. And I feel better now. I feel better. I feel more clean, because it just confessed everything. Obviously, not gonna say full details of, things, but yeah, I just put it all on the table in front of Yahweh Shema Shai, because at the end of the day, Yahweh Shai is the judge. And even though, you may slip, even though you may do things that are wrong in the sight of the Heavenly Father, at the end of the day, he's the ultimate judge, and he can grant you leniency, grant you a pass or not. Just like you have a judge, just like you think about a judge, there's certain people to judge, the judge is gonna go hard on. And there's certain people to judge is they may have done something wrong, but the judge is gonna say, you know what, you in specific, I'm just gonna, but also there's certain people, what do? They beg the judge for leniency. They beg the judge for mercy. They beg the judge for, and that's what you got to be in the spirit of doing, because we're all going to need mercy in these last days. If we were all to be held accountable exactly to our charges, we will all be, the incredible amount of stripes, but we, we ask Yahweh Shema Shai to be lenient, to give a blind eye towards our offenses, to grant mercy upon us. Acts chapter 10 verse 42, and he commanded us to preach unto the people and to testify that it is he which was ordained of God to be the judge of quick and dead. Right. So through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, the Lord, the one who the world calls Jesus Christ, is the ultimate judge, sits at the judgment seat, judge in all and judge in everything. The Psalms chapter 51 verse 17, the sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart, O God, thou will not despise. Right. So, there's times where in the spirit you feel broken. You feel like you can't live life anymore. You can't do the tasks of the Heavenly Father anymore. There's certain times that's what it is. Nobody says you got to be Superman in this thing. We're all men. We all got lusts and wants and needs and fears and hopes and dreams, all that. And there's times where we break down and the Lord builds us back up again. And I pray, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, I could just continue, just continue to keep rolling, and ultimately end up with salvation. Ultimately end up with mercy, because, yeah, man, it's real. The Heavenly Father, you see by these prophecies, the Heavenly Father could get this thing rolling, this year. You don't want to be on the wrong side of it. James chapter 5 verse 16, confess your faults one to another and pray one for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Right. So confess your faults, confess to the Heavenly Father, confess to the next brother that you did wrong, confess. confess, apologize, keep it, try your best to be real. And it's not easy, but Yahweh Shema Shai, he hears that and he sits as the judge. And the judge could say, I hear what you're saying, but F you, throw the book at you. Or he could say, I hear what you're saying, I see what you did. You did make that offense, or this is that. But you know what? I'm going to grant you leniency. There is the parable of the prodigal son, for a reason. There's certain people that they may not have been the best, but through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, they've been granted mercy. And you had great men, in the scriptures that committed sins unto death. Did they, and they were granted, mercy. This is Romans chapter 9, verse 15. For he said to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion, right? So at the end of the day, it's what Yahweh Shem Shai decides. And you want to pray that he decides to have compassion upon you and mercy upon you. So that's really about it. Matter of fact, let me get this right here. This is James chapter 5, verse 13. Is any among you afflicted? Let him pray. Is any merry? Let him sing songs. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up. And if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him. Confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, right? So, praying to Yahweh Shema Shai works. It helps. I could, I can give a testimonial of being heavily hearted and heavily burdened. And, I prayed and, I'm feeling a lot better. It's through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Try your best to just let Yahweh Shema Shai know what it is. And try to just keep rolling. And, let's do our thing another day. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shema Shai. You brothers out there, keep working, keep, you got your job, you got whatever it is that you're doing, to maintain yourself in Babylon. Keep working, keep doing it, keep handling your business. And Lord's will, we'll be in the kingdom of heaven soon, because that's really what all this is about. Shalom.